well. It's a great pleasure. Thank you for taking the time. We now move on over to Europe for our next story, to the defining crisis of the continent, where President Volodymyr Zelensky recently addressed Russia's claims that France and the United Kingdom are preparing to provide Ukraine with a nuclear weapon or dirty bomb. Speaking in Kiev, Zelensky stated that Russia usually resorts to nuclear rhetoric when it fails on the battlefield, adding that Ukraine does not possess nuclear weapons. He linked Russia's nuclear threats to upcoming trilateral meetings and political pressure, possibly in response to discussions about a nuclear umbrella in Europe. Earlier, Russia's Foreign Intelligence Service had claimed that the UK and France were working to arm Ukraine with nuclear weapons, a statement that both the UK government and Ukraine rejected as false and absurd. Former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev then issued threats of nuclear strikes against the UK and France. Let's in fact listen in to what Zelensky had to say on the ongoing issue.
Зазвичай, коли Росії не вдається перемагати на полі бою, вони починають шукати ядерну зброю на території України. В Україні немає ядерної зброї, на жаль. Ви знаєте всі обставини, коли в Україні була ця зброя і коли не стало.
Joining us to discuss this is Irina Sukerman, a senior journalist joining us live from New York. Irina, thank you so much for taking the time in joining us. Of course, this comes as we approach a bilateral meeting between Ukraine and the United States in Geneva, where they are supposed to discuss those security guarantees and a hopeful upcoming trilateral meet between those two, along with Russia, in early March. These accusations that both France and the United Kingdom are looking to provide the Ukrainians with a dirty or nuclear bomb, do those statements have any weight? If so, what is the Kremlin or Moscow trying to put forward with those statements? What's it trying to convey?
There is absolutely no reason to believe any of it is true. In fact, Russia is cynically abusing the fact that as a result of the Budapest Agreement, Ukraine had given up all of its nuclear weapons in exchange for security guarantees from the US, which, as we have seen, ultimately amounted to a lot of hot air. US essentially has abandoned Ukraine to its fate and, in fact, has been pressuring Ukraine rather than Russia under the Trump administration. There's a couple of reasons for why all of this is happening. First, Russia is attempting to shift attention from the fact that it is an aggression, and it's impossible to deny that this aggression is expanding from Ukraine to other countries in Europe and around the globe. Second, it's an act of desperation because Russia not only has not been able to advance through conventional means on the battlefield, but its losses are now greater than the number of people it's able to recruit, even with the attempt to mislead people from around the world, from African countries, from India, the Middle East, into joining it on the battlefield. And third, of course, Russia itself has threatened to use nuclear weapons at various points in time, but has never actually done so, in part because such an act would have devastating consequences for itself. So now it's attempting to project on Ukraine the threats that it has actually made numerous times.
Yes, Irina, do stay with us as we move from the Ukraine war and over to the United States once again for our next update. We stay on a related development before we head over. Ghana's Foreign Minister Samuel Okudzeto Abzalakwa has urged Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to release 2 Ghanaian prisoners of war captured fighting for Russia. Meanwhile, Ukraine has said that more than 1,780 citizens from 36 African countries, including Ghana, had been identified among Russia's ranks, and that some of them had been captured. Let's listen in to the statements coming in from both countries.
I want to commend the Ukrainian government, particularly the President of Ukraine, President Volodymyr Zelensky, who has ensured that all of these captured prisoners of war, international law has been respected. We have received reports that they are in good health. They have not been tortured. They have not suffered any inhumane treatment since they were captured.
Росія намагається затягувати у смерть, у війну громадян, мешканців Африки. За нашими даними, на сьогодні воює понад 1780 громадян з африканського континенту в російській армії, тобто мова йде про найманців. Багато їх гине і вже загинуло. Чимало ми вже взяли в полон. Загалом, за нашими даними, участь в бойових діях на стороні Росії беруть представники з 36 Африки.
Once again, we head over to the United States, where